Ready? Play.
And I feel like if Iga's going to keep getting herself deep in tournaments, it's inevitable that she's going to win a trophy again eventually, even if it has been a bit of a wait at this point.
Yeah, as you said, I feel like it's in due time, and obviously with the state of the sport, she still has the biggest weapons in the game, and that can take her as far as she wants at this point. And I think as we continue to discuss like the evolution of her game, it's only improving, and her being able to kind of experiment, I'd say, with that game style and gameplay, throughout the earlier rounds will continue to benefit her. I think you look at Swiatek in terms of how she deals with a little bit lower level opponents, and it just feels so clinical. She just gets the job done, super efficient, and there's really no hiccups. And then obviously it was definitely an interesting scoreline in terms of that match with Andreeva in the semifinal. But yeah, I mean, just going back to the ability to play on her terms is the biggest, I'd say, takeaway from Sabalenka and her future.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for Swiatek, right, they have this ability. She has an amazing ability to play most matches on her terms.
Right.
She still racks up like high 80 percentage wise in terms of win percentage. That's looking likely to continue this season. I think this is something I was talking to kind of Mario about offline. It's something that I've noticed with Iga is, you talking about her ability to kind of hit the front. I think for me, Iga Swiatek's ability to win and kind of step up against the players that she needs to is going to depend on her patience level. When she's patient, she hits a top level. When she's struggling with patience, it becomes a bit messier. And that's when I think the frustration's coming out sometimes, is that maybe that hope that like, oh, I got through all these other people, why aren't I getting through this person? And not willing to let the match or kind of put the hard work in to do that. I think it's not really a criticism, it's more of an observation, because I know she can do it, and it's going to be very much, and she's done it plenty of times before. That's how she won that epic Madrid match against Sabalenka last year. But it's maybe something that I do notice, that maybe as you're talking about this evolution that's happening, her patience levels are being affected by it.
Yeah, I think you actually make a great point. Just because, when you're playing at such a high level, you don't run into trouble like that. And I think she's actually been talking about that recently when, more and more getting deeper into matches, and you feel the stress, and you maybe play a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And we know Iga, like you said, probably for 80% of matches lives in her comfort zone, playing on her terms. And, talking about an Indian Wells track that suits her perfectly. The win was something that was tough to deal with. But yeah, there is a little bit of a lack of patience and, ability to, okay, play out your tactics, see how they work, and then adjust, rather than, panicking in that sense. But yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up.
I mean, did we see that lack of patience on display in that sort of last match that against Andreeva?
I think I think I credit Andreeva more than,
Mm-hmm.
Iga downfall, just given how, she managed the emotions well, she served so well, and, um, you know, kind of letting that rest breadstick, I would say, put it behind her, and focus on that third set. But yeah, I mean, talk about frustration coming into play. That was quite clear for Swiatek, and
Mm-hmm.
I think she would say herself that she didn't, deal with it too well. Whereas Andreeva, stayed cool, and yes, the ability to play free at 17 years old is quite a blessing.
And in fact, Iga has said that she hasn't dealt with it well, because she's just released an apology for what happened with the ball kid.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's so that's great that she's dealt with that, and that she's been up with that. And like, I hope that you know, we can move on fairly quickly from that. It's if she's kind of apologized for it and she knows that this is a thing that needs working on, and work at it she will, because we know there's no one who works harder than her in the sport. And I think she's going to be trying to adjust for whatever new challenges come. Like, we've got Sean Power in the live chat saying that Andreeva's defense is going to give a lot of headaches to big players, and that's true. I think Iga probably isn't used to people being able to defend against her in the way that Andreeva can, and that's probably why she's lost the last couple of matches against her. But and in fact, Andreeva is now one of the few people who has a leading head-to-head against Iga Swiatek. The only other person being Jelena Ostapenko, active players anyway.
That's right.
So that's a crazy stat, but I'm a crazy stat. But yeah, I think you want to comment on that point, but I'm still optimistic that Iga's going to adjust. And as I said, at least on the clay, like, it would be crazy if she doesn't win a title this clay season. I think she's going to keep knocking the door, and eventually it'll open for her.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think this is definitely, I think she even said in the message, just ability to get, put her emotions out there and be open and honest about it. I think it's definitely, it's hard because she feels like, oh, now I'm being emotional on the court and, I'm receiving backlash. Whereas if I'm, too, focused, consistent, and I look like a robot and I'm showing no emotion. So I think it's just like we said, like the mental battles within sport. It's it takes. That's what I appreciate about tennis. It takes a team to really bring everyone together and be on the same page. Because yes, it can be definitely detrimental, mentally, and that leads into how you play on court. But Iga, I think she's so strong. She's experienced. She's a winner. So I think things should get back into play. What I do think we should mention was, because it's actually a topic on the men's tour now, but it's the fact that she doesn't think she can reach the world number one because of her, her doping suspension, which she had to miss the Asian swing, I think it was. So she feels that she won't have the ability to reach that goal, and that's difficult for her to kind of deal with mentally. And she was open and honest about how that affected her in Dubai. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but just another consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why it would affect her. I would say the results suggest not, and I think it's other things going on. In addition to that, I think if it was affecting her that badly, she'd be losing a lot earlier and a lot more concerningly. Whereas she's losing late stages to players who are very, very good and often go on to win. I think the only time she hasn't lost to the eventual champion was when she lost to Ostapenko, and we know what Ostapenko can do to her. Right. So what Ostapenko's like. So I don't think that's. I highly doubt that. But you can't speculate on what's in a player's head, and that really frustrates me because none of us know these people well. It's all a very parasocial relationship, and assuming what someone thinks based on what you can see on a TV screen, I find it frustrating trying to predict that. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. Because you were talking about showing emotion, I don't understand why it matters so much to people whether players show emotion or not. It literally doesn't bother me. If they want to show emotion, that's the heart of the story. If they don't, that's actually really, really cool. One of the reasons I love Elena Rybakina is that she's the ice queen. It's one of the reasons why I love Roger. He stayed steely-faced in the face of pretty much anything that came his way. And if he lost his temper, then something big was happening. So I don't understand why it matters so much to people. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way of dealing with emotions. We've seen players manage to be successful handling their emotions or one way or another. It has to be what works.
Right. No, I totally agree with you, Nick. I think that's just a part of the sport, and especially with an individual sport, it just gets, we see it in such a big light, and it's very, public, and obviously images and videos move quite quickly. So, you know, everyone wants to have an opinion on it. But I'm with you. I think that's just part of the sport, and you know, emotion or lack thereof is part of the game, is part of the battle.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.